and welcome to this week's edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. It's Rich Baxter, and I'm joined with my good friend and great baseball maven, Mr. Gary Mack. How are you, Gary?
Thank you, Rich, for that introduction, and I'm doing well, thank you. And Rich, it was a great week. Very busy sports week. It started with the NCAA finals, and then on Thursday we had the beginning of the Masters and opening day in baseball, and of course we're a baseball show, and so it was a great day. A couple of games on here and there, and um, if we get a chance later, we had the introduction of Apple TV plus the game on there, and pretty much a disaster, I have to say. I think from most parties that watched that game.
Yeah.
Uh, but I haven't heard anybody that liked it. Let's just put it that way. The pictures were nice,
Uh-huh.
but the broadcasting was, awful.
Subpar.
Just awful.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Juan Soto show,
Right.
and you know, and they were just terrible. Um, the play-by-play, the girl was pretty good, but the analysis people were just horrible, and they all talked too much. They kept talking. It was like, they thought they were doing radio or something. Um, let the pictures show the game once in a while, and
Yeah.
they yacked and yacked, and they weren't very interesting at all. The conversations were awful, to say the least, and
Yeah.
they've been panned pretty good throughout everything I've read.
Yeah, it's a great opening day weekend, but yeah, we did have a little, baseball just privatized, so to speak, for the Apple TV viewers. And I actually went to opening day this year for the first time in
Yeah.
many years, and had a great time. It was a surreal feeling getting to the ballpark. I got there a couple hours early. I was looking for the big party that the Phillies usually throw on opening day, but it was tremendously scaled down this year. There was no band playing out there. They used to have a big mobile stage set up with band, and it really attracted, hundreds of people around it. That in combination with, you know, ice cream giveaways and things like that, different vendors basically giving some little snacks away. It was like a pretzel vendor where you get a little bag of pretzels and an ice cream, and I was looking for that, but it wasn't there this year at Philadelphia. But it was still a festive time. Any day you can go out to the ballpark is a good day. In fact, I was going to go today, but the weather was a little crispy out, and that in combination with a little wind, I was like, yeah, I want to enjoy
Uh,
my stay at the ballpark. So I figured, if the weather warms up, and when it does warm up, um, I would have been there. But overall, a great opening day weekend for most teams. As you said, yeah, the Apple TV Plus will. We'll talk about that throughout the year. And I came home that night after opening day and kind of felt bad for the Met fans because the game was on Apple TV. So I put it on my MLB.TV account. Of course, I could only listen to it on the radio feed. So I did have a sympathy for you guys out there watching the Apple TV because, when Google used to broadcast games, it was the same way. When Facebook broadcast games, it's the same way. It's just not up to broadcast standards that we recognize and we love. We take for granted, I guess, how easy it is that SNY puts on a broadcast. In my neighborhood, it's NBC Philadelphia. They're professional, polished group with
mhm.
professionals running the broadcast. And we found out, or you found out firsthand, that may not be true with Apple TV.
Well, they are so-called professionals. They just were bad. I mean, um, they did offer the game for free, so I think they're gonna do a couple of weeks for free, so people get hooked on it. But to be honest with you, I hope the Mets aren't on the rest of the year. And if they are, I just won't watch it. It was that bad. I know, my buddy Jeff, that hosts baseball and barbecue. He messaged me and he says, "I synced up the radio with the TV." So he goes, "Those people are awful." They were bad. I mean, there's no two ways to say it. The pictures were great. Everything was great. They had the you know the, the technologies there. They got all the technology, and but they might have been better with like a robot calling the game or something, because they would just that Chris Young, who all I can say is they were bad. You had to hear it. And like I said, most people, and it's been a lot of Met fans, granted, but most people that I've seen on Facebook or Twitter, I really thought it was terrible. So I don't know. If that's gonna be the coverage every week, I mean, they did do two games. I didn't see the other game. Because it was on it. Was it on ML? No, it wasn't on MLB, but it was the the Astros, believe, and I just didn't bother watching it. And I don't know how the secondary team is, or maybe that's the first team, and the Mets got the secondary team. I don't know, but boy, if that's their primary team doing the Mets game, they were awful, and it's just. Like I said, they just didn't shut up.
Yeah, that's a shame. Really is a shame.
And they weren't even interesting.
And The Verge had an article on the debut here. Apple TV Plus, first ever live baseball broadcast, left some fans frustrated and disappointed, with complaints about connectivity issues and the quality of commentary surfacing during and after the games. The streaming service aired the Mets versus the Nationals and the Astros against the Angels, and it basically pans as well. Says, for starters, a number of fans said the broadcasts were interrupted during the games despite their internet working just fine, so the stream was cutting out. And then, as you said, they had to put the mute button on because probably these announcers, so to speak, commentators, were just all over the place. So,
yep, and they're right on the money. It said they were talking about Benihana and Japanese restaurants, and they were pushing Apple products, and they were talking about they did an interview with Juan Soto on the field, and he's talking about, hey, Apple, give me, iPads, and we need iPads for my teammates and watches and phones. And I'm thinking, what is this?
What is this?
You're probably going to sign for $30 million a year, and you want free stuff from Apple?
Begging for Apple stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous, and then that was like a running joke, Oh, I guess all you got to do is mention it, and oh, gee, we could get free stuff from Apple. We could use a phone or this, that, and then they went on to the Japanese restaurants. They go, hey, you think we'll eat for nothing there now that we're mentioning it? And I'm like, oh my God, please.
Yeah,
it was it was bad. And I hate to say that, because everybody will say, oh, you're a sexist because it was 3 women and 1 guy. But they were bad. I mean, there's no two ways about it. They were, and you can see, Hannah Keyser was an analyst. I don't think she analyzed anything all night. I don't remember her even talking.
Right.
And though between it was hard to decipher the two voices between the announcer and the analyst, I guess. So maybe she did more talking, but I don't know. The reporter on the field was okay, but really, I don't know. Now the other team I'm reading there is Steven Nelson, Hunter Pence, and Katie Nolan, and Heidi Watney. Heidi Watney is good. I mean, she used to do quick pitch for MLB. I think it's and she's very good. So she probably was pretty good, but. And Hunter Pence is very excitable, so I don't know how he was as an analyst. But at least there was probably some life there.
Yeah.
It was really a disaster, and I didn't have a problem with the connectivity at all. So
Uh-huh.
that I have to say, and that's why I say the picture was nice. It was sharp. It was it was a good job there. They had the just to show you the bad luck that they did had. They had two players mic'd. They had Soto mic'd, and they had Francisco Lindor. And then Lindor gets hit, and they take him out of the game. So no more Lindor. Oh, they didn't use that feature that much because it was really not that interesting.
Yeah.
And it was the thing was they played it later. Like when they talked to Bryce Harper in the All-Star game and they were actually talking to him,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was like, they'd say, "Oh, and let's just listen to what's going on to Mike Dunn." It was the inning before where Soto made a catch or something, and then he was talking to the teammates, and it was not. It was just bad. I'll just leave it at that.
It was not all that for sure.
Yeah. Not all that at all.
Very sorry to hear that. It's almost like you're sitting in a big restaurant at a table and watching the big screen game going on, and you're sitting next to somebody you don't really want to sit next to.
Yeah,
They're
right.
just broadcasting, talking about a game, and then their conversation wanders off in different areas, like
In
you
all
said.
kinds of,
That's just not
exactly.
a professional baseball call, folks. So,
Yeah.
hey, Apple TV, if you're listening, you want some good commentators, you got them right here. Gary Mack and myself will be glad.
There you go.
Be glad to do a game or two, and we work pretty reasonable. So give us an email.
Yeah.
Gary, we're going to get a little taste of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball tonight as we're doing the podcast. A new era will also usher in A-Rod and Michael Kay calling the game for ESPN Sunday Night Baseball.
So Michael Kay is doing it now for ESPN?
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's the Yankee announcer for those that don't know on Yes Network. And so I guess he got this extra gig, the national game on ESPN. It's just going to be those two, huh, in the booth?
Let me see here. Let me bring up the press announcement, and then I'll read it along with you here. I had read that earlier. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball begins tonight, April 10th. The Yankees, of course, and Aaron Judge take on the Boston Red Sox. Hey, who else would the Sunday Night Baseball team have on? It enters the 33rd season of broadcasting. Let's see. Airs tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Boog Sciambi, John Boog Sciambi, who also announces games for another team, and Doug Glanville will be in the booth. And I read somewhere where A-Rod and Michael Kay here, it says, previously announced World Series champion and three-time MVP Alex Rodriguez and Michael Kay are joining forces for a separate alternate presentation to air on ESPN2. So it'll be John Boog Sciambi and Doug Glanville on the main broadcast, but if you want to go over and see, Michael Kay and A-Rod, they'll be on ESPN2.
Why?
They have that alternate. They're doing like the football league does, with that special broadcast where I guess they do talk to guests and things like that. And it's not the traditional type of broadcast, although I think we'll get more traditional from this Michael Kay and Alex Rodriguez. So it's sort of like, I think it's pretty interesting the way they'll do this.
Okay.
And worth to tune in, possibly.
Okay.
And of course, as we know, the Yankees and Red Sox get broadcasted a lot on ESPN Sunday night, but
That's for
we'll
sure.
also see 2 games from the Phillies and the Mets, May 1st, May 29th. So I think the Phillies are on 4 times so far, scheduled for 4 times on ESPN, and I'm sure the Mets are going to be on at least that, maybe more.
Well, I just go by and see where they're playing and what station they're on.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see this. I don't
It's
even know if I get ESPN2 anymore.
It gets so confusing though. What station are they on now? So I don't know. And you have what, YouTube TV?
I had YouTube TV for a while, but now I have Fubo TV,
Uh-huh.
and it's a great offering for sports fans. I get all the major MLB TV, NBA, NHL, get all that. So I'll have to see if ESPN2 is on there. I really don't watch ESPN all that much during the year, but I'll have to check to see if I get that station.
Yeah. Fubu, huh?
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
look
it's
into that.
up and coming broadcast type of network that I get from the Roku. I think also get it from the Google Chromecast app.
And do you have to pay?
Yeah, it's a subscription service. It's sort of
Okay.
like cable TV. They're pretty big. It's like $75 a month, but there's no additional fees to it like you do with traditional cable, like boxes and things. You don't need all that. No extra taxes.
Yeah.
Don't listen, governors and things like that on the taxes. I don't think there's any extra taxes, but don't want them to hear that.
Yeah, they'll be knocking on your door.
Yeah. And
So,
Gary,
Rich,
another.
we just had, like 3 days. We're going into game 4 for some teams game 3. And we've already had a brawl and hit batsmen's, and Mike Trout hit a tape measure job last night. And comeback stories. Noah Syndergaard looked good with the Angels last night as well. And Max Scherzer returned to face his old team with the Nationals. And it's been kind of wacky already.
Yeah, it's been a full spectrum of games, and let's take a little look around the league here. As you said, your Mets with a great start, 3-0 going into Sunday here at April 10th. Phillies out with 2 games in a row, so they're battling it out there. The Cubs, surprisingly, 2-0 on the season. San Diego out west, 2-1. Jumped out to the early lead, and let's go up to the American League. Looks like the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays and Toronto all off to a great start.
Mm.
2-0, all looking for sweeps this afternoon. And Kansas City 2-0.
Hmm.
Little surprise there.
And the White Sox, they're gonna have a tough time in the beginning because their two top pitchers are on the shelf right now. Neither one, I believe, is anything to do with their arms, so that's good news. But one has, I'm thinking, abdominal strain, and one might be a hamstring. I forget. But Lance Lynn and Luis Giglio.
Oh,
Uh, can't even think of his name. I'm sorry, but they're on the shelf right now. So, but they got some pitching performance from Cease yesterday, so they're looking good. And look in the West there, Rich. Seattle's up on top.
yeah. I might have missed that on my picks. I see my Minnesota's 0-2 out there. I don't
Well,
know how I picked Minnesota, but and I did upload our picks. If anybody wants to check them out, join our Patreon page.
oh, so we
Um,
can't lie.
yeah, I posted up a nice PDF there for our Patreon viewers. So consider joining. And as I said before, if you can't find it or whatever, um, email me or Gary Rich at baseballtalkradio.com or Gary at baseballtalkradio.com, and we'll send you a link to it. You can sign up. But yeah, Houston 2-1 so far. We can't put much credence into this yet, but opening weekend this year, very exciting. Wonder if all of our listeners got a chance to get out there and experience some baseball. And like we've been saying, we'd love to hear from you. I believe we did hear from our good friend Jeff as well during the week. He sent us his picks, so thank you very much, Jeff, for that.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks, Jeff. And he's picking the Mets to win it all. Of course, as he said, he can't let it go. He's got to go with the his favorite team, my favorite team, of course. But that's a loyal fan, Jeff.
Why not? Hey, it's a legitimate pick,
It
just like
is this year. Many years it wasn't, but this year it is.
yeah. And we even have some technology in this podcast. Check out the PitchCom. It's a technology that allows the catcher to call a pitch without putting signs down. So he'll press a button or two on that little pad that you see if you're watching us on the YouTube version of the show, that sort of like a big giant wristband on this catcher's arm. He pushes he pushes the buttons, and there's small receivers inside the caps. You can't even hardly see them, they say, in the lining of the caps. And the fielders and the pitcher can hear the call, as well as the catcher. He's got one that they can all hear what pitch is supposed to be thrown. So finally, MLB stepping into a world of technology. Long, long, long overdue for this, I think. Football has embraced it for years.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I notice some of the teams aren't using it yet. Maybe they got to work into it. It is so new, but I still don't understand it. They were talking about it, and I looked it up last night because I kept hearing they're not using PitchCom. They're not using pitch. And I said, what is this PitchCom? And as you said, it's like a wristband, electronic wristband, and But what I don't get is, do they hear a voice?
Yeah, it's a subtle voice, sort of. If you have earbuds, it's sort of a subtle voice that they can hear very low.
So
And
it'll be like fastball,
yeah, slider.
curveball,
Yeah,
slider, low.
yeah, yeah. There was an article in USA Today. I'll see if I can get that up on the screen as well here. I'm battling all these sports book type of ads here on these. It's
Oh, they're
amazing the way.
terrible, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like you can't. You know,
Oh, it's terrible.
you don't know what to click on next here. They've overtaken websites.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
here's a small story on USAtoday.com with the Mets catcher James McCann. Says he dropped into a squat behind home plate and cycled through the incoming pitch sign sequence by
Verbal
pointing and
command.
flipping his right fingers. And that had been the universal way to communicate signs for more than a century. But this year, of course, MLB announced PitchCom technology, allowing the catcher to call a pitch without putting signs down, will be allowed for this season after being tested in the minors last year. Once McCann presses a button on the device he wears on his left wrist, the verbal commands are sent to miniature receivers equipped with an antenna and speaker that informs the pitcher and selected fielders of the call. So they hear it. So, Mets reliever Adam Ottavino said you don't even notice it. So it just sort of whispers to you like slider.
Slider.
Yeah. uh, I think that's pretty interesting. You know, and my immediate thing being a computer type of guy and, tinkering with this and that is who's going to break the communication? Or I imagine it's got to be really tight, you know, communication not to be broken by someone.
Yeah, and they have to be on two different bandwidths, I would guess, because you can't have both teams on the same one. So when you're listening to the other team, there must be a way that they block it or whatever, or have two different bandwidths. But very interesting. Um, we'll be getting
Yeah.
big parabolic mics people will have trying to listen in then to hear what the call is. It must be very low though, because if the catcher can hear it, the batter's right there. You don't want him hearing what's coming.
Yeah, it's got to be very low, as you said, and, it's probably very subtle, but at the same time, they have to hear it as well. There's no sense
Right,
in,
right.
even the pitcher, but they're all wired up, whoever's using it. And even the batter, like, can he take a look back and see what what buttons he's pressing? But I guess
Yeah, yeah.
what stops him from doing that, But interesting that the technology, and I heard some umpires doing some calling, as we said last show, Gary. They're sort of like hockey
Yes.
now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The play on the field will stand.
Yeah, they sound very much like that. Actually, I was just listening, reviewing some games this morning, and I caught one of those, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, that's a good thing, because at least you know if you sit there, the heck is going on. So you know whether what the call was about and what the play was. So yeah, that's a good, a couple good innovations. I don't have a problem with the pitch thing. I think it's a great idea if it, works. Um, like I said, I don't think anybody used it last night in the Washington or the Mets game. Um, it probably does take getting used to, and we'll see as the season goes on. But it is a terrific idea. I don't know how durable it is for a catcher, with foul tips and that sort of thing. And it could be a little awkward feeling on your wrist. I don't know how heavy it is or anything like that. But when you're given the signal, it could be you target. It could be maybe it gets in the way or something. But I'm sure they have a way of wearing it, tire or whatever. Um, you know, it's what's great about it is, you know, the catcher can turn to the umpire and hit a thing and call the pitch. You know, on a foul ball, he could be calling a pitch while the ball's still going back. With you know, it's pretty neat that they can do different things like that. So
Yeah,
we'll see how that works.
yeah, very cool. And last but not least, for this show, opening day weekend here, everybody's excited. Over in Japan, 20-year-old pitching phenom Roki Sasaki throws his first perfect game at 20 years old. Wow,
Wow,
that's amazing.
unbelievable.
First in 28 years for the Nippon Professional Baseball League in Japan. That's a lot of games. 28 years with no perfect game and
Yeah,
thrown by a 20-year-old.
yeah, that's something else.
Yeah, 19 strikeouts during the game and very awesome there. Rumor has it he may be wanting to come over to the MLB.
Oh, I guess he will be. And he'll get some amount of money if he can, you know, keep up this sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And
And
Rich, did you happen to see? I'm going to try to do this share thing that you're so good at. Did you happen to see the Atlanta Braves championship ring?
I did not. I heard it was a nice ceremony and
It's
uh,
a nice ceremony, but it's really something else. There is the ring, and as you see, it actually opens up.
wow.
And the top can be removed, and it reveals a miniature model of Truist Park, complete with micro LED lights. And there
Jeez.
are 11 rubies placed in the stands
Very
to show
cool.
where the Braves hit the World Series home runs in 11. And there's a picture of how it looks. It's got the A logo, and then that flips open to reveal this. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's wow. One of the nicest rings I've ever seen for World
Yeah,
Series, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a little rubies in there, maybe.
Yep.
Wow.
What will they think of next, Rich? And
Yeah.
congratulations before we go, Rich, to Rachel Balkovec, who debuted with a win on Friday night as the first woman to manage the affiliate of a Major League Baseball team. She guided the New York Yankees Class A Tampa Tarpons over Lakeland 9-6. So congratulations to Rachel Balkovec getting her first win as a major league as a manager for a major league affiliate.
Very cool. Congratulations, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of lady managers now that she broke the mold and opened the door for more. So congratulations as well. And little story locally, Philadelphia, when I went to the opener for the Phillies, was an awesome feeling just to be out there again. I hadn't been in a couple years to a ballpark with the COVID situation. I stayed away from the stadiums, and of course, for a good period, nobody could go to the stadiums. But
Yeah.
I almost felt like I was transported back in time, where I had that special feeling when you go to a game and the sun's shining and the ballpark, selling programs and things like that. I just wanted to relay that and
And how was it post COVID with were some people wearing masks still and
there was a very small majority of people wearing masks, which I, was surprised about. I thought there would be a lot more, being that there still is a portion of the pandemic going on. There still is
mm-hmm.
people getting COVID and passing away from it, unfortunately. But Yeah, I didn't see all that much. It was almost back to quote unquote a normal existence before this
Right.
COVID descended upon us. And, you're packed in when there's
Hmm.
41,000 fans, 44,000, I think
Sure.
was at the opener. You are elbow to elbow with people, even on the concourse.
Hmm.
So there was a ton of people back into a stadium, and it did cross my mind a little bit, but I was back at the stadium and couldn't be more happier to be there. There's just no way to relay uh,
Of
the
course.
goodness that you feel being there. And you might not catch everything that you catch on TV. The home viewers are good as well, but just being out there, I think it's good for the mind, body, and soul. It just has a healing effect, almost like being at the beach sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's great, and I'm glad you had a good time. And
Yeah,
I'm not so crazy that the Phillies won, but that's another
I hear you.
that's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
story.
yeah. Well, thank you for joining us for this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio show, everybody. We can't wait to bring on more stories for you as the year goes on. And we're just into the first weekend here, so it's going to get better from here, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it will. Races will start to get going, and it's a long season, and the warm weather will come, and the people will come to the games, and just everything's looking good and up right now.
Yes, indeed. We'll check you out on the next edition of the Baseball Talk Radio show, everyone.